Good morning, students. Today we will do the poem The Brook, which is lesson 3.4. Now, this poem is about a brook, that is a small river or a stream, and the brook is actually telling you its life story, like from where it came, where it was born, where it travels, what it sees along the way as it travels. Okay. Hope you'll have your pencils in your hands so that you mark the figures of speech and the meanings of the words. Now let's begin. I come from haunts of coot and hern. I make a sudden sally and sparkle out among the fern to bicker down a valley. So now the first line, if you see, it's telling you from where it originates, okay, from where, which place it comes from. So I come from haunts of coot and hern. Now haunts are where someone frequently visits. So now where does it come from? It comes from a place where the coot and the hern visit very regularly, very often, almost maybe throughout the day. Okay. So here you see the letter H is repeated, so it is alliteration. Letter H is repeated. If you see, it's over here as well as over here. So it is alliteration. Now, coot and hern, these are the names of the birds. Yes. I make a sudden sally. Again, the letter S is repeated. So, alliteration. The letter S is repeated. So, alliteration. I hope you're writing it down. Okay. Now, sudden sally means a sally is a journey. Yes. The where it travels. Now, a sudden sally is a quick journey and sparkle out among the fern to bicker down a valley. And sparkle out among the fern is a plant, yes, and to bicker down a valley. Now, bicker is the sound. It's comparing its sound to that of bickering. Now, what is bickering? Bickering is when generally two people are, what do you say in Hindi? Tu me. Okay, they're just always bickering and grumbling at each other and muttering something other. So there's always a constant sound. Okay, so this bickering is referring to the constant sound the water is making as it is flowing. Yes, sparkle out among the fern means it shines. The sun or the rays of the sun reflect on the water, and that's why it said that it is sparkling. Yes, so there are ferns growing also, and it is sparkling under that. Next stanza. By 30 hills I hurry down, or slip between the ridges. By 20 tops, a little town, and half a hundred bridges. So if you see, by 30 hills I hurry down. By 30 hills I hurry down. The letter H is repeated. You can see is repeated for poetic effect. And so it's going down a hill, and the speed of it is a little fast because it's going downward, so that's why it's saying hurry down or slip between the ridges. Now the ridges are small narrow little path path, yes, small narrow ways along the, they are very long ways along the edges of the hills. By 20 tops, a little town. Again, here the letter T is repeated. So it is alliteration. Here, one, two, three times. It's repeated thrice, but no need of saying it. You can just say the letter T is repeated. So, alliteration. Now, what is a thorp? A thorp is a village. It's a village. So, it goes by a town. It goes by a village also. How many villages? 20 villages. Okay. And half a hundred bridges. Again, the letter H is repeated for poetic effect. So, alliteration. Half a hundred means 50. Okay. So, how many villages? 20. How many bridges? Under how many bridges? 50. Okay. Now, the next stanza. Till last by Philip's farm I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So here what it's saying, at last it flows where? By Philip's farm. That Philip is the name of a person and he owns a farm. So the letter F is repeated for poetic effect, so alliteration. The letter F is repeated for poetic effect, so alliteration. Farm and flow. To join the brimming river. Brimming means which is full, almost overfull, is going to overflow. Okay, so the river is full of water almost to the edge, to the highest level. That's why it's called brimming. Now, if you take a glass of water and you fill the water right up till up, the water is brimming till the edge. Okay, if you pour a little more, the water is going to overflow and fall down. Same way, the river is brimming with water. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So if you see these two lines, or the first one, men may come and men may go, come and go are opposite words. Yes, so it is antithesis. And if you see men is repeated twice, so it is also repetition. So there are two figures of speech over here, antithesis, repetition, as well as alliteration, because and may both have the first alphabet of M, so alliteration. But I go on forever. So what it's trying to say is, men may come and go. They're not saying of physically just coming and going. It is like the man comes on this earth, lives a short life and dies and goes away from the earth, leaves the earth. But this little brook goes on and on for years and years, for ages and ages. It's almost like it's going on forever. It never dies. I chatter over stony ways in little sharps and trebles. I bubble into edding bays. I babble on the pebbles. Okay, this year, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever is repeated again and again. So each time you see this, I will not explain it again. I will just, it has three figures of speech, that is alliteration, a repetition, as well as antithesis. So you mark it by yourself. Okay. Okay, now we go to the next stanza. I chatter over stony ways in little sharps and trebles. I bubble into edding bays. I babble on the pebbles. Yeah, I chatter over stony ways. Chatter is again sound. Chatter, generally you say the sound that the monkey makes is chattering. Yes, someone is constantly talking, you call that person a chatterbox, because that person is always constantly talking. The sound of talking constantly. Monkeys also keep on making some sound or the other, and that's called chattering. So here they are describing the sound that the water makes when it goes on the stones, yes, over the stones. It's described as chattering. Yes. So yeah, that's why stony ways. The way is made of stones. So I chatter is the sound. So onomatopoeia, it indicates sound. Even on top, when you had I bicker down a valley in your first stanza, the last that also it will be onomatopoeia. Okay. Then in little sharps and trebles. Now this sharps and trebles are the sounds, musical sounds. When you have your musical instruments, you have those musical sounds like this, something like this. You have musical instruments. You have the sound that is sharps and trebles. I bubble into edding bays. Here again the letter B is repeated. So in bubble and bays, so it is alliteration. Now what is a bay? A bay is a narrow, the Bay of Bengal you have. India has its own Bay of Bengal. Yes, when the land narrows and it has water on all three sides, it is called a bay. Now, how do you say it's uh, an edding bay? if you see a bay, I'm just showing it to you through my arrow over here. If you see the Bay of Bengal, okay, it's like this and then this way, right? And this part, it forms like an angle over here. India goes on down, yes, but this part over here forms an angle, and the water is flowing. This all is water over here. Hmm? And this part, the water comes here, bangs into this part of the corner here, and it keeps on, you can say, twirling around, swinging around, going in swirls. Yes, so that's why it's called an eddying bay, making circular movements, because there's no place for it to go further. There's no place for it to go further. It's, see, the way is blocked for the water because there is land from here till here. This is the land. So where is the water going to go? Over here, there's no place for it to go straight. So it bangs over here, bangs the walls, the land, it turns around here, and then it flows down. Okay, that's why it's called eddying bays. I babble on the pebbles. Pebbles are tiny stones, tiny rocks. Yes, again, babbling is a sound made by a baby. Yes, when the baby makes all zaga, woo, woo, eh, woo, all the silly sounds, it makes no sense. You cannot understand what the baby is trying to say, but it makes a sound, and that is called as babbling sound. So again, you have onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia over here because sound is indicated. So the sound that makes when it goes over the pebbles is describing it as babbling or comparing it to babbling. I hope you are writing. Next, with many a curve my banks I fret, by many a field and fallow, and many a fairy foreland set, with willow weed and mallow. Now, with many a curve my banks I fret. Now, if you look at a river, okay, you'll find a river flowing straight, straight. Okay, in this between is the water. Now, both the sides, as the water is flowing, as the water is moving, from both the sides, the water takes along with it the mud on both the edges. Correct? So it's eating away the land or the mud or the soil from either side of its banks, this side as well as this side. So that's why it's saying fret. Fret means to eat away. Yes, to eat away, to wear out. So what it is doing, with many a curve my banks up, it means especially the parts where it's turning with force, it turns and comes, this part especially, it will take more of the mud, more of the sand, more of the soil along with it as it is flowing. Okay, next, by many a field and fallow. So it's going along a field and a fallow. Field is a field where crops are grown or fruits are grown, or basically crops are grown, and fallow is an empty land where you just have maybe a grass growing. It's not actually grown on purpose, it's the wild grass that grows. Okay, which is like, not, it is good land, fertile land, but it is not tilled, it is not sown, it is not harvested. Okay, it's not used for growing anything. That's called a fallow. Now, field and fallow, again, you have the letter F repeated, so alliteration. And many a fairy foreland set. Fairy foreland, letter F is repeated, so alliteration. Many a fairy foreland set with willow, weed, and mallow. So here, what now here? What are they describing as fairy foreland? The place now. Okay, we go to the next line, then you'll understand. Willow, weed, and mallow both are plants. These are the names of plants which generally have flowers. Yes, they have tiny flowers. Both these plants will have tiny flowers. The mallow has purple flowers, and willowweed is like a, it's a small it's like a small tree. Okay, Now, these both, where these grow, it makes the place look so beautiful on the banks or on the brook that it looks as if it is the entrance. Foreland means the entrance to a place where fairies live. Clear? Now, if you see, you have a round entrance like this, and then some of you may have it in your building or in the entrance of your colony, where the name of your colony is written on top, right? You have a little arch, so that maybe that's the way the plants are growing. Maybe the mallow is growing here and the willow weed is growing here, and it forms an arch, and it looks like so beautiful because it has got so many flowers and looks so nice, and that it looks like the entrance to fairyland. Okay, four means taken from the word before. Four. Okay, four means before. So before the fairyland. I chatter, chatter as I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So here the word chatter is repeated for poetic effects or repetition. Also, it indicates sound. So onomatopoeia. The rest of it, I hope you're marking and writing what I'm saying. Okay, so we go on to the next page, the next stanza. I wind about and in and out, with here a blossom sailing, and here and there a lusty trout, and here and there a grayling. Now, what is he saying? A wind about means I twist about. Maybe the river is not just straight, it turns. Okay, twist. So in and out, again, antitheses, opposite words repeated in the same sentence. With here a blossom sailing. So blossom is the bloom of a flower. So sometimes maybe the flower has fallen down from the trees and it is flowing or floating on the water. And here and there a lusty trout. Lusty means here healthy, and trout is a fish. Yes, and here and there. So not maybe not lots of, but very often you will find a nice healthy trout. Yes, fish. Now here and there, again opposite words, so antitheses. And letter T is repeated, so again alliteration. And again here and there, next line, a grayling. Again, that is another type of a fish. Yes, and here and there is there, so it is antithesis. And here and there, a foamy flake. So again, here and there, antithesis, foamy flake. Alliteration because the letter F is repeated. Upon me as I travel, with many a silver water break above the golden gravel. So, what is a foamy flake? I don't know, when your fathers shave, they use foam, if they use foam, or they make a little froth. Or have you seen mummy soaking clothes? That time they put surf, when they put surf and they shake the water, you have foam forming on top. Yes. So, here, because the water is moving over so many um, what do you say, hindrances, so many things that come in the way, like the stones, the trees, the plants, the gravel, the rocks, all this, it forms, it moves such a lot that it's forming small little bubbles which look like the foam that you make when you're soaking your clothes or you're shaving. Okay, so that's why they're calling it a foamy flake. Okay, so you find this little flake or this little bubble of foam on it, on the water. So here and there a foamy flake upon me as I travel, with many a silver water break. Silver water break is a, you can say, something that comes in the way. Yes, something that is a barrier. It it divides. It's almost like Like say, when you'll go on the road, you travel by road, you see the police keep the barrier. Yes, in the way if they want you to slow down the vehicle or they want you to stop, they keep that barrier. So it's making a break or making you slow down. It's not allowing you to go ahead at the same speed. You have to stop or you have to slow down. So same way here, there is a pile of stones, maybe there is a big rock, maybe there's lots of mud in that place. So the flow of the water has to slow down. So it's making a break in the flow of the water. And why silver? Because the light is reflecting in the water. Above the golden gravel. Gravel is very, very fine sand, almost like sand, okay? And what color is it? It's golden in color. And the letter G is repeated, so it is alliteration. Okay, next. And draw them all along and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So what is he saying? That as I flow, all these things, whether it is the foamy flake, whether it is the blossoms blooming, whatever is there, even the little stones, the gravels, everything I take them along with me when I'm flowing to join the river. So draw them along means take them along. Okay. I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance. Among my skimming swallows, I make the netted sunbeam dance against my sandy shallows. So here I slip, slide, I gloom, I glance, alliteration because the letter S is repeated as well as G is repeated. Also, it is repetition because the word I is repeated for poetic effect. I hope you're writing. It is also anticlimax because you see the action slipping, sliding, gloom, and glance is going in reverse order. Yes, there is less action taking place. You're slipping very, very fast, you're just slipping and falling. Well, as you're sliding, you're controlling yourself and going down. Gloom means you're just a little sad, a little dull, and glance, you're doing nothing, just looking around. Okay. Among my skimming swallows. So letter S is repeated. Skimming swallows. So alliteration. Now swallow is a tiny bird. Swallow is a tiny bird. Now what do you mean by skimming swallows? Um, when your mother, I'll give you an example of skimming. Sometimes your mother gives you something very hot, maybe hot tea, hot milk. Yes. If you do not have that milk for a long time, you have little layer of cream on top. That's what you call as malai. Yes, the malai or the cream forms on top. Now how do you remove that? You generally take a spoon and you just remove only the top layer where the cream has formed. So you are skimming the milk, you are skimming the tea. Okay, so where you're touching just the upper part of the milk or the tea. That's called skimming. Now, that's exactly what the swallows do. Why do they do that? Because they are catching fish. See, they're flying in the sky. When they see the fish, they just dive in only. They don't go very deep in because these birds are small birds. So just dive in, catch the fish that are there on top at the edge of the water, and fly away. Okay, so that's why they're saying skimming. They're just touching the water and flying away, touching the water and flying away. Maybe they're having a little bath, or even wetting themselves, or maybe catching the fish. Next, I make the netted sunbeam dance. Now, netted sunbeam, what is sunbeam? Is the sun rays. And why is he feeling that it is dancing and it is netted? The reason being because there are plants growing around. So the plants are coming in between, or not allowing the sunbeam to touch the reach the water. Yes, they're blocking it in between, but the leaves are not full. They're not so dense. There are gaps in between the leaves, and that through that the rays of the sun or the sunbeams go touch the water. but it's not a full thing. So it's looking like a net on the water. Half shadow, half light, half shadow, half light. So it looks like a net. And they're dancing because the leaves are moving because of the wind against my sandy shallows. So shallow is not very deep. Shallow is opposite of deep. Yes. So you can just walk. Maybe the water is just up to only your ankles, not uh, even up to your knees. So it's not very deep. It is shallow. Now sandy shallows, letter S is repeated. So alliteration. And why the mud over there is very fine, maybe sand is there, so that's what it's saying. So there may be many trees or plants growing there, and that's why the sunbeams are not all reaching down but going touching down and looking like a net. I murmur under moon and stars in bramly wildernesses. I linger by my shingly bars, I loiter round my cresses. So I murmur. Murmur is a soft whispering that the water makes. Here it's talking about the night time. In the night, it the sound that you listen, you hear no other sound. Sound of the water flowing is very faint, and you can hear it very clearly. And your letter M is repeated, so alliteration. Letter M is repeated, so alliteration. And since murmur is a sound, so it's onomatopoeia. In Bramley wildernesses, Bramley is bushes which have thorns. Okay, so that's why wildernesses is growing wild. So no one has really planted these thorny bushes there. They're growing wild, but that's where the plant is going and murmuring around it. Sorry, the water is going and murmuring around it. I linger by my shingly bars. Linger means to not flow very fast, but to flow slowly. Take your time. Yes, don't hurry by. Shingly bars are again round stones. Yes, small, smooth, round stones. I loiter round my cresses. Now, your cresses are again small plants. Loiter means to waste your time. If I say, children, they uh, say that they're going to the toilet, but they loiter around and waste their time. So that means they're just roaming around instead of going to the toilet. Okay. And out again I curve and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So, and out again I curve and flow. So it comes out from under these plants, under these round smooth stones, under the bushes. It comes out and it flows. It may be making a curve, maybe making a turn because uh, something may be coming in the way. Yes, but where is it going last? It's going to join the river, which is already full. And from all the water that is flowing in, the river has become full. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Now, this poem is written by Lord Alfred Tennyson. Yes, so it wasn't a very difficult poem. You can write the whole poem and write its figures of speech in your book. Now, when you finish writing your poem and the figure of speech, you can also do this. You can write lesson in this. Yes, list the prepositions you find in the poem. See the fifth one. You can do that. The fifth one, you can do that. That's the only homework. And even the sixth one, it's you can do that also. It's very easy. Don't do anything else. Okay. So do your figures as your poem, your figures of speech, and five and number five and number six as a homework. So I hope you all have understood and are able to do this homework. Thank you. Do have a good day.